This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so I was really just sitting here and I was running across some old diagrams and I decided to just go ahead and create this video just to kind of connect a few more things for you. Because when it comes to fresh order flow, and I'm sure this is what the video will be called, fresh order flow. So when it comes to fresh order flow, and this goes into our approach. So if we already identified our supply and demand areas, and now we're waiting on opposing order flow to be broken. We're waiting on fresh order flow to form. We're waiting on downtrend market structure to form. And that's if we're sitting at a supply. So say if it's supply, we're waiting on downtrend market structure. We're waiting for the break of opposing order flow. And we also, I just want to connect this, that all of that, breaking opposing order flow, downtrend market structure, all of that is also going to start to form that original supply level being formed. That's pretty much what we're waiting on the market to do when it's trading out of the zone. So we're at supply and we're wanting the market to break opposing order flow. Here's a level of opposing order flow because it did create a new high. Here's a level of opposing order flow because definitely it formed this order flow and created a new high. So these are levels that we are looking for to be broken. On top of that, we're waiting on the downtrend market structure to form. It's definitely forming that downtrend market structure out of it. We already know downtrend market structure looks similar to an M, but definitely in the midst of it forming that downtrend market structure, you have to realize that here's another key point of your education: fresh order flow being formed. Fresh order flow being formed. Not only am I identifying the opposing order flow, here's the low. That low definitely created a high. Now that low has been broken by this candle right here, only by a pip. We know that that matters. So when it comes back to retrace to the origin of this, you got to realize that it's starting to form fresh order flow out of the zone as well. This right here was the original level because the market came here and also broke opposing order flow at this level. Here's fresh supply. So this is a level of the original supply area. This right here has formed a new level of supply replacing this level. So the market will no longer be able to retrace all the way back here before it gets to this level of supply in find sellers as well. So you got to realize that fresh order flow is also the market forming your downtrend market structure. It's also the market forming the opposing order flow being broken. So this is the structure that you always see the market form when it's coming out of the zone. Keep in mind that the levels of fresh order flow is pretty much your entries. If I noticed that this level of supply right here formed, and I marked that out with this yellow oval right here. So now I know that this is a level of supply. When the market trend down and trend back up, could not take this out, but forms another level of fresh supply. Why am I saying that it's another level of fresh supply? Because this level right here is this price level, this supply price level here is the origin of the downtrend of the decrease in price that actually took out opposing here. And then it pulled back up to this level, that same level, it retraced right back to it. If you had already set up with your sell limit at this oval area, this price area here, the market got you in. And this is what I'm saying. You have to be able to recognize this, because if you go and set your sell limit at this level of supply here, you're not going to get in, because the market is going to be stopped by the price here because it has formed a fresh level of supply. So this is where the market is gonna retrace back to, and it won't be able to get any higher because this level has certified itself as being supply. How it certified itself being supply, I'm going to repeat it again. It certified itself of standing on its own and forming its own level of supply because it was able to take out the opposing order flow that you marked out, that you wanted to be alerted when it's broken. You wanted the market to break this level of opposing order flow because you wanted permission to be able to set up on your sale. When this was broken and the market gave you permission to set up on your sale, where am I setting up on my sale? At the origin of the price that created the break in this opposing order flow. So that was here. Boom, marked it out with the oval. Once price retraced back, came to that level, and immediately start to drop in price. The fact that this level right here, this price level right here, was able to take out again this level because it created the new low, broke that opposing order flow, but also was able to come down here and take out this opposing level of order flow as well. So you have to realize that this now has created and formed a new fresh level of supply. And that just goes right back into what your education. If we go right back to the textbook, fresh level of supply being formed with every retest of the fresh level doing a downtrend. If this is the structure that the market is forming, coming out of the zone, trading out of the zone, this is what the fresh order flow is explaining. Is explaining the same diagram that we previously looked at of how that fresh order flow is being replaced by one another. So when it comes back for the retest, it's being replaced again, especially if it can come down and break more opposing order flow. And then once it retraces back, it's now replaced again because there's a new level of supply. This is what it's talking about. It does the same thing coming out of a demand zone. Fresh levels of demand being formed with every retest of the fresh level doing a uptrend. So you got to realize when you're looking for your uptrend market structure to form, this is all this is. You also have those levels of fresh demand being replaced when the market comes back to retest it and is able to pretty much break more opposing order flow, create new highs. It's certifying itself as a new level of demand. And the same thing is happening and the same thing is forming over and over again coming out of these zones. So not only are you're seeing so much in just that one whole approach, that one whole step to waiting on opposing order flow to break, waiting on the downtrend market structure to form, and then you also are witnessing your fresh supply and your fresh demand being formed as well. All of that is creating what we call peaks or valleys. This is the structure that is creating the valley, the actual valley. So by the time that we actually see it making a valley, we've already seen all of this play out and we're in the trade. So by the time it's even forming the valley and also showing you that it is a certified uptrend by having two or more valleys, by that time we are already in the trade because I'm teaching you to see it from the very, very beginning. So all of your education is connected in its own way. It's the same thing over and over and over, whether it plays a different role, no matter if I call the peak, if I call it a peak, if I call it downtrend market structure, if I call it the fresh order flow being formed, if I call it opposing order flow being breaking, the market giving me permission to make the sell, to make the buy, no matter what is being described, we're describing all of these things. All of these things are meaning the same thing. The very, very beginning of a peak being formed. And then once all of this occurs, once all of this is happening, now we have the continuation pattern. So once the actual peak is being formed and we're witnessing all of this opposing order flow being taken out, we're witnessing the market downtrend market structure forming out of the zone. We're witnessing fresh order flow forming out of the zone. By the time all of this is taking place, now we actually see that we have a peak. And then now it's a base drop. You get what I'm saying? Or a rally based rally. But by the time all of this happened, all we are witnessing coming out of the zone is fresh demand being formed out of that zone. And also now we're seeing a valley. Now we're seeing the continuation pattern. Boom, continuation pattern. Drop based drops. So all of these things are connecting with one another, but don't get confused. Even though it's so many parts, they're really just talking about the same thing, and that's your valley, and that's your peak, and that's your continuation patterns. All of it is the same. Continuation pattern is the same as a drop-based drop. Continuation pattern is the same as a rally-based rally. A valley is the same as demand and uptrend market structure. Your peak is the same as supply, and your downtrend market structure also forming fresh order flow out, breaking opposing order flow, whatever you want to call it. All of it is pretty much the same thing. And I just kind of wanted to go over this and reiterate this to you.
This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so now I just want to show you guys this information. I want to show you the fresh demand coming out of a zone. So if this blue highlighted area here was a demand area, and so now we've marked this area right here as demand. And so the fact that the market retraced up, came down, couldn't quite get back to this area, but took out so much of what's to the left here, that opposing order flow here, it has created right here a fresh level of demand. And I hope you guys can see this, because on this chart, it hasn't showed, been this far down in demand for quite some time. This is a fresh level of demand. So when you see the market retracing back in price, all it did was retest this fresh level of demand. And now all it did was create now a new fresh level of demand. And a lot of times you will see that fresh demand form about 3 times before it really just peel out of the zone. So if this was the new fresh level of demand, it retraced back in price, got to the top of that order flow, and then it just came and just peeled completely out of that zone. And so that is the market replacing those levels of demand and those levels of order flow. I mean, it shows you, and it does this quite a few times. I can show you just right here with supply. So we'll mark out this level of supply right here. We'll mark out this level of supply. Price comes down, decline in price, retrace a little in price. But when it comes down, it started to break opposing order flow to the left, started to break so many areas. So this level right here has replaced the above supply area. And so now the market will, when price retraces, is not going to get beyond this new fresh level of supply, because the orders are there. The orders are there to sell it. Came up and retraced, got the bottom of that supply area. And now even that is replaced now. So once we replace that, because when the market came up and came down, it definitely took out more of what's to the left came up and retraced, came exactly to that level. Now this is replaced. It just keeps replacing that, especially when you're in high altitude and you notice these things. When you're trading in demand areas that is high, or when you're trading in demand levels that are in low altitude, and for this trend here, this is the low altitude point, this is the high altitude point. So as we come down, you'll see that the buyers just start to increase even more. If we were to look for the level of demand that's over here, this is the first level of demand. So when price came up, so you know what I'm saying, start taking out things that are to the left, start taking out some of these areas that are to the left. When the market retraces back, even just in this little small instance here, and this is on 4 hours, so I'm sure it showed even better on 1 hour. Even as in these small instances here, all you just see is these levels just being replaced even more and more. So if this was a level, the market came here, and here's another level just continuing to be replaced as the market trade out of that zone. Even if it come down and begin to start breaking it, it shows you this, even if it's not going to make it of that far above. Once you seen this right here, opposing order flow broken by this right here, the market retraced back up to that fresh level of supply. This right here was the fresh level of supply. No, it's not going to be able to get back here. You know why? Because when this right here declined in price, this is the supply that took out what's to the left. This took out opposing. This is the supply level that got opposed. And so I'm not surprised that the market retraced back to that supply level, that fresh level there, and came on down. I mean, you just have to be very observant and attentive to what the market is doing in price. Um, and you're able to dominate the charts no matter where you're really trading at. You just have to just know what time frame you're on. So, this is more short term type, thinking. But at the same time, it allowed us to, be able to catch part of the sale. If that would have been 110 down to 107, that's 8, 9, 10. That's 300 pips, just from this move to this move. So, looks small in pricing, but if you're just with collecting pips, what's the harm? But this is the level that was replaced. Um, Even this level right here, it came down and it was able to take out a lot more of what was to the left here. Took out this. Did it come down? Yeah, was able to take this area right here out. But this right here held up. This was one of your levels of fresh supply. So of course, when the market is retracing back within this area, this right here actually would be a new area. Didn't mark it out at first, but that is a new level of fresh demand. So when you see the market retracing back to that, of course it's gonna get some kind of rise in price off of it, only to come back to another level what you sorted out as fresh supply, which this would have been that fresh supply here. So it's not surprising that it kind of held the market off for a little while, and just to keep going to the left. Let's just see what is happening here. So here's the market coming down to more levels of supply that you had labeled out in low altitude. I mean, more levels of demand that you had already identified in low altitude. So when it came here, if you start to recognize that opposing order flow was taken out, boom, right there, you now had marked this level right here, like, okay, this level right here was able to take out opposing order flow. So, as the market goes up and retrace back, this also is another level of fresh order flow because the market continued up as it declined in price. So when the market come back and retrace that, it definitely, holds it off for some time. And of course, this is now where we're presently trading at. It was able to take out so much over here to the left. So wouldn't be surprised if this definitely holds up for even more buys. Yeah. So, of course, hey, this just tends to happen over and over. And I just wanted to bring to you guys' attention that, hey, did you know that the fresh order flow part of your lesson is also your opposing, is what is being formed as opposing order flow breaks as the downtrend market structure is forming. All of that fresh order flow, fresh supply, uh, fresh demand, all of that is just forming your peaks and your valleys that you identify on the market. All of that is just forming that. So when we're looking on the bigger time frame, that market structure, that Those peaks or valleys is what is actually being developed on the bigger time frame. When you see those peaks and when you see those valleys, definitely that is what is being formed in the lower time frame on your 1 hour, on your 4 hour. So really, it doesn't matter if you go down to 1 hour or 4 hour, those levels will just allow you to see them a lot faster, a lot sooner than you would on your daily. But most definitely, these, if you were, identifying supply and demand, you'll know what range you're able to be in. This right here is considered to be a level of supply. This right here is definitely considered to be a level of demand. So you know what range you're pretty much playing in when it comes to this. So I just wouldn't be surprised if now that we're in low altitude of this range, if the market tends to continue to push on up as it's breaking more opposing order flow headed that way. But that's all I really just wanted to go over with you guys. I just wanted to make sure that you understand, um, your education, and you're able to connect it, and you're able to realize that a lot of it is really the same thing being said over and over and over. And if you can just take the time to slow down, to really process your information, meditate on your information, um, study it, be consistent. You will only get better within time with the repetition of doing it, with being confident that you do know your information, you do know your education. Um, and you'll be able to definitely identify a lot of these opportunities on the market. Is I'm not doing anything that's super amazing. This is my education, will have the same foundation. It's just that I know my education and I'm able to identify it in the market. And when you're able to identify it in the market, you're able to react to it. So that's all I'm doing. I'm just reacting to what the market is telling me. I'm able to read the language. I'm able to read that, this current market right here is trading low altitude of this range that it's in. And now that I know this trading low altitude, if I'm down here looking for levels of demand, then I'm alert to it breaking opposing order flow. That's what I'm waiting on it to do. So we was even to go down here, and we were able to go down here in time frame, you know. Once, if the market even start breaking, levels here, you already know that, wow, is whatever fresh level that broke this, whatever fresh level is formed, that's where I'm gonna set up with my entry, which it could definitely be pulling that off right about now. So I just wanted to go over this with you guys. Definitely stay consistent. Definitely stay on your P's and Q's, on your game. Stay alert. Stay noticeable to price, and stay noticeable to new levels being formed.